keep seeing him.
We need another ceremony to communicate with her. The ritual requires human sacrifice.
Director Hiroshi Katagiri brings us The Ritual, also known as Death Ritual. And this is kind of like a low-budget movie, a little bit like Flatliners, the Keith Sutherland movie from some years back. And the story focuses on this woman who is a young woman at university, and she has had an alcohol problem previously. And she's sober now. And she is depressed because she misses her father, who's died, and she kind of blames herself for reasons that will be explained in the movie. And you know, she's got this boyfriend and stuff, and she gets involved with this group of people who are doing experiments using this kind of old ritual and this root, which to make this concoction, which tries to send them to the other plane and communicate with the other side, so to speak, puts them close to death, etc. Inevitably, the death's door might swing both ways, you might say, and they may also be more of a corporeal threat going on. What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So let's discuss what works in this movie's favour. Okay, so this is a very low budget film, and the effects are mixed, I will say, and I'll come back on to that. But there are some effects which I think are very well done. There's a couple of instances, for example, where you'll see like a character's kind of face melt. And I've got to say, I think the effect is pretty good. It's actually done quite quickly. It's not one of these films where it's a long, drawn-out sequence. It's done pretty good, and you know, it's well done. And there's a couple of other kind of like sort of reasonable sort of short effects and things here and there. The movie's plot is actually quite dense. You can't say this movie is like it's an A to B typical kind of slasher film where a bunch of people go into a house. There's actually a degree of that, but the movie actually does have a lot going on in regards to a kind of mystery, what's involved, who's involved, motivations, you know, threats from the other side, threats from this side. So there's actually a reasonable amount, as I say, to this film. So the plot it's been thought about. They've tried to make it more of a weaving plot to a degree. Some of the supporting characters I actually kind of quite like. There's a couple of these sort of students which I think have get a huge amount of screen time, which I think you know, did fairly well in kind of like, you know, sort of small characters and stuff like that. And then we have this kind of like a character wearing this kind of like tribal mask thing. Which I'm gonna say looks it looks fairly threatening, and kind of gives this sort of native kind of vibe, I guess. It looks pretty good, and you know, you're thinking it's some sort of like ancient Mayan mask or something like that, and it's, you know, this is what they've used for sacrifices. So there's a couple of decent kind of like props and things here and there. So there's that, and not really a positive exactly, but this is possibly an example of the world's most patient boyfriend put to screen, I would say. Why do I say that? Okay, so we have the boyfriend, which is a supporting character, and I say he's got to be like the best, most supportive boyfriend you've ever seen, because our main character, this girl, is one of the most unlikable characters put to celluloid. She is constantly miserable, depressed, moaning, whining through the entire movie. She treats her boyfriend quite unfairly, I would say. and is threatening to kind of ditch him when he is really doing everything he can to try and please her. She is a really hard character to root for. I mean, they try to give her this kind of like tragic backstory. You know, she's an ex-alcoholic. She blames herself for the father's death, etc. I get it. The script hasn't helped this actress. But the actual kind of like character in the performance is so unlikable. You know, it's like, this is your main character? Dear me. What a misjudged character I think this was. Because she is just horrible, to be honest. So therein lies a huge problem, because we have her as the most prominent cast member. I have to say, I think the acting isn't great, if I'm honest. Outside of a couple of kind of characters and performances, the acting is probably tips on the weaker side. As I've mentioned, the movie's plot is quite weaving, but at the same time, I would also say the movie's plot is quite convoluted. And I have to say, you know, it's when the kind of the mystery is resolved, it's like, don't people do background checks and things? And it's like, surely the university would do background checks and things like this. And it's just a little bit kind of silly, and, you know, things are made because we need the plot to go into this certain direction. But ultimately, I have to say, I think the plot is, you know, complex to a point, but also convoluted at the same time. VFX wise, as I said, there are a couple of instances where I think the VFX work is good, but then we have like this ghostly girl, and it looks like a girl with a bad wig and grease paint on. I mean, it's just ridiculously bad. Which is weird, because as I said, there's such a dichotomy between other effects in this same film. It doesn't really lean into much in regards to actual kind of horror. It's more about the relationships and the mystery more than building any type of genuine sort of suspense, tension, or horror. That's the movie's, you know, those things really are secondary to this kind of like, oh, let's have this interesting, you know, mystery going on. But it's the truth of the matter is, it's not that interesting. I think we have a very unlikable lead character. Then we have a secondary character who's like this TA person. Not a good actor, I'm sad to say. And his character is, as I say, maybe poorly written. And, you know, a little bit, you're not quite buying that one. And as I say, the boyfriend, he just seems to be so, like, over the top in regards to, he would just be out. I mean, this guy would just be out of there. He wouldn't, no man would be putting up with this type of crap unless he is like, I don't know, got some type of like dependency on this girl. It's just, you know, bad characters, unfortunately. So this one, I have to say, was not interesting, and it's down to a number of factors. Ultimately, it's kind of like a low-budget Flatliners, but with none of the originality, pizzazz, performances, or characters. It's a 3 out of 10 for me. I have to say this movie was fairly weak. Have you seen it? What did you think? Leave me a comment, and I shall look forward to you next time. Bye for now.